Yikes! There goes the lighting, the studio quality lighting that is precariously resting on my computer. Well, that looks terrible. Now, like, my glasses have like a big block. This is just, I mean, let's be honest, folks, it's a little ghetto as we work through this. And hey, do I bring it up every single time? I sure do. No changes. Maybe this guy, that's the only change you see. Messy background, per usual. Today, really excited to bring on Talk Shop our second guest. Got a very long relationship with this individual and one of our most trusted partners. We have vendors all over the country, the world, that we rely on and we turn to often because they help us look good. And this is one of those. This is one of those vendors. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in our second guest for Talk Shop. Here he is. I'd like to welcome Gartenmann, which I speak a little German. I know that means Gartenmann. Do you have a green thumb, Chris?
I do not. Hey, how's it going?
It's good to see you, Chris. Thanks for joining us. You know what I do know you have, if it's not a green thumb, it is your finger on the pulse of everything that has to do with fabrication and print. Is that right?
Yeah, hopefully so. Yeah, thanks for the kind words. Yeah.
You are with a company called Harmonic Media. And why don't you just give us a little rundown of your background, how you ended up at Harmonic Media, and what you guys do, and how you're helpful to our industry and many others.
So actually, Harmonic was a vendor of mine, a partner of mine, when I was doing custom Airstreams about 7-8 years ago. Left the Airstream industry to get into the marketing side. Was kind of done doing RVs, so wanted to go more towards experiential marketing. And from there, worked at locally here in Denver. And last fall, Harmonic was looking for someone to add to their staff. I mean, growing during the pandemic is a little unusual, especially in this industry. But gave them a call, and the rest is history, as they say.
That's awesome. An industry like yours in print and fabrication, I know firsthand with everything that needed to be done for many businesses with COVID. You saw a pretty massive spike in business, when all this stuff kind of hit, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the term pivot, but that's something that, Harmonic did, was kind of move into that, signage, making sure there was, the appropriate CDC signage and guidelines posted everywhere. So that was something that we added. But with that said, 2021's up for the industry. We've got events happening. I mean, gosh, there's a trade show this week in Orlando already happening, and we're doing some events in a couple weeks up in the mountains, and it looks things are looking to get back on track.
Yeah, I mean, glad you used the word pivot. I think we've heard that word ad nauseum throughout 2020, and I'd like to use it now in the moment to say that we're pivoting into 2021, and the ramifications for what it means for our industry. Everything that happened, everything that shifted, everything that changed last year, in many cases preventing things from happening or changing the way those things happened, and moving forward, how that impacts our industry. And that's actually what we are going to talk about today. Hey everyone, I'm Luke Miller, CEO, founder, Moment, janitor. You've heard it before. We are here today with our second guest we've ever had, Gartenmann of Harmonic Media. And after a long, hard year like 2020, where Moment and Harmonic have seen both ups and downs, we pivot, we transition, we move forward into the excitement, the anticipation of what 2021 can bring for all of us. Chris, would you say that it's fair to say that this industry will be forever different because of 2021?
Yeah, and not necessarily in the ways people are expecting. There's going to be, the first shows coming out, the first events, the first activations coming out are going to have certain COVID-based, safety features built in, social distancing, signage like that. But it's also put a premium on what an engagement is, an activation is, and the power of experiential marketing. I really think we're going to turn the corner and explode. People are going to want to get out and do something cool. We've been locked up in our houses, making sourdough bread and doing all these things that we never had time for before, but are missing that interaction, that experience, that engagement, that going out and seeing a concert or going to a sporting match. You and I are both soccer fans. We did not go see any soccer this year. Those things we're missing, and I think people are going to want to get back to it. And when they do, I think it's going to be with a vengeance. I think they're going to want to see more and better.
You're absolutely right. And we're keeping a really close eye on this vaccination rollout, because as soon as we hit critical mass, we really do expect the phone to start ringing off the hook. You're absolutely right. We've spent now nearly a year locked up. There's only so much we can do in our homes. There's only so much digital marketing we can absorb. It's funny that you bring that up, because I think towards the moment that COVID really changed everything, there was almost this sense of staleness to the industry, or you could kind of sense this idea that brands were wondering how we can continue to one up and make things bigger and better and badder. And I think that is largely true, and it will still be true moving forward. But as we kind of re-enter this era of engagement, we realize how important it was, and even these smaller interactions with brands or teams or whatever it may be are so critical to, I think, our society being happy and engaged and social. So I think you'll see even smaller brands going, how do we get out in front of people again? People are tired of scrolling through Instagram, doom scrolling most recently. But people are over it. People want to get back to where they can touch and feel and interact. And you're right. I think as we turn the corner, it is going to absolutely explode. So how do companies like Moment and Harmonic cope with that?
Well, you mentioned the smaller brands as well. It's not just your major, Fortune 500 companies that are going to see the results for getting back into the engagement marketing and experiential marketing. The smaller brands, people are going to want to learn about something, get engaged with something. They're not, seeing a post on Instagram, they're scroll right past it. But companies like Moment and Harmonic, we've got the size to really be nimble to get going. The agency plan of having this massive agency isn't necessarily needed for all brands anymore. There was a thinking for a while, you need to have a massive agency. They're great for some things, but not everything. And there's agencies like Moment that, you're nimble, you can be quick and get things done and turn quickly. Same with Harmonic, we print in-house, we do everything here. We don't outsource anything, so we can be nimble. We can have that quality control. We can keep an eye on things and make sure that the brands are represented going out. The agency's work looks great, and we can go from there, being smaller and nimble.
Yeah, I small and nimble is so valuable in this day and age. I mean, you hear of all these smaller agencies, smaller shops that are able to pull off things that historically we couldn't. Technology has advanced, prices have come down on equipment, things that are allowing businesses of all sizes really to flourish. And almost I would argue that the larger businesses, especially in this industry, are struggling a little bit because of these massive burdens, these massive amounts of overhead. I've got my ear to the ground in this industry, and I hear of a lot of these larger agencies that have had to purge significant numbers of staff. They have office space they can't sublease or return to their landlords. You're absolutely right. But I think one of the critical things that you hit on there is quality and QC. I notice it across the board when I'm out in the field, when I'm working with larger vendors. there's almost this, I don't want to say arrogance, but it's just like we're so big that, maybe we don't have to check to see if that ink color matched, or maybe checking to make sure everything's buttoned up, all the seams are closed up, everything like that isn't such a big deal. And I think you're going to see smaller agencies, smaller shops starting to get more business out of this, because those things matter. Those things matter to consumers that are engaged with a brand, whether it's a banner at a sporting event or a massive fabrication for an experiential build. You notice those things. Consumers notice those things, and I think clients notice those things when agencies care, when they make sure they hire vendors that care. It shines. And it's the reason we've been able to build the book of business we have, because we care. We're buttoned up, and people notice. And I think that when we talk about vendors like Harmonic, you're a critical piece of that pie. In the intro that you weren't here for, I basically said we have vendors all over the country, coast to coast, that we can call on. But there are certain vendors that, say we have an event in New York City and I need to guarantee that I can QC this and it's coming from a quality vendor. Maybe I'm going to pay a little bit extra to make sure Chris and Harmonic can take that business and I can go down to the shop and QC it and I know everything is done right, versus taking a risk on a different vendor or a cheaper vendor or an unknown vendor. And those relationships are so important.
Absolutely. And then, we live and die by all of this. We want the best product coming out possible, because it doesn't necessarily, it's not our name on it, it's your name on it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to make sure that it's perfect for you, because you hired us to represent your client, and we have to have that respect for your relationship there. That's some people miss that, they miss the fact that it's not us. It's, we're in the background,
Yeah.
We get to see it. We get to see our product in trade magazines and on, the Super Bowl and whatever. We get to see these things, out in the wild, but we're not the one who has to deal with it if it's poor, if the quality is poor.
Right.
You're the one who gets that phone call. And, I assume you've gotten that phone call, and it's not a fun phone call to get.
No.
And being a smaller shop, we get to QC it and put that effort forward, because it is something we are genuinely engaged, and we want to partner to help you succeed.
Yeah. Well, and you make a great point there. If a client comes to us and they're unhappy with us, and they understand that we have a slew of vendors that help bring it together, but we don't just get to go, well, that was that person's fault. It's ultimately our fault. And so for us, selecting vendors that embody that same belief and have those same values for quality prevents, hopefully, moments like that from happening. And I think there are so many businesses out there that take for granted the business they have, especially repeat business, assuming it will never go away. We've had this account for 10 years. It will never, we talk about smaller firms and agencies. I think that helps brands stay fresh, new perspective, new thinking. But I also think that it's critically important that our size and our scale that does allow for that nimbility is we can scale up and down as needed. We're not hiring, firing people. We can bring in contractors. We can bring in people as the business grows. But it's so critical for me and for you, I'm sure, to go into every project with the mindset that this could always be the last. And if you have that mindset, I think it forces you to a quality level that is, this is like the first. You get one chance to make a first impression. If you do make a good first impression, that client comes back. But you should never take for granted that they have come back. And every project, and this is the belief at Moment, every project is the first for us. And we're going to execute with the same quality and attention to detail that would be expected of that first time, because it's always your last. It could always be your last time too if you don't execute that way.
No, absolutely. Yeah. You have to nail on the head on that. It is, we're doing custom pieces, it's, one-offs. It could be your last. And, going into it with that first impression, make sure everything's great, and then growing from it. We could hit a home run, but okay, what can we do better? How can we excel? What would investing in a new printer help with this process? We've got a half dozen here in the shop, but would X, Y, and Z help that? And continuing to grow and get better ourselves is going to then go to you, help make better first impressions and help you win more business. We've got these capabilities, these vendors locally that can help you as the agency. We can do X, Y, and Z that will help you bring in more business or put more realistic ideas out in the open rather than guessing on it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, if you look down the chain of advertisement and marketing, the end user is the person that buys that can of Coca-Cola, right? And sips it and says, this is great, right? But throughout that chain, there are so many interactions that person has with the brand, and it could derail that train at any moment. And so, from the first conversation with an agency where you're brainstorming, if it doesn't feel good and it doesn't feel comfortable and it doesn't feel like they're really giving you everything you have, maybe that's a bad sign. And as you work through that, and we work with you to bring some print or fabrication to life, and we're checking the quality of it, making sure it resonates. You aren't the end customer. I'm not the end customer. Ultimately, the person sipping that Coke is. And so it's so critical that we continue to make sure that person enjoys the Coke, wants to buy another Coke. And it isn't as simple as only making a can of Coke. There's so much that goes into influencing a consumer and making sure that they understand what a brand has to offer. And it sometimes is as simple as the print shop or the agency that's in a tiny little office in who knows where, right? But when it all comes together and all works, it's a pretty magical thing to see happen. But it is a chain. And if there's a weak link, it falls apart. So I think it's just I love what you've said here. I love the relationship that Harmonic and Moment have together and will continue having moving forward, because sharing those kind of values is so important to making sure your customer comes back for another Coke, making sure our customers, in our case, Coca-Cola, comes back to us for more ideas, making sure your customer, us, comes back to you for more fabrication, more print, whatever it is. But there can't be any weakness in that chain or it all falls apart.
Absolutely. Yeah, you want to be the strongest link. You don't want to be the weakest link.
No kidding. So we certainly appreciate vendors like Harmonic that share those values. And as we turn the page here into 2021, there is so much excitement. We look forward to all the things we're going to do together this year with Harmonic and many of our other vendors who have had tough 2020s, have relied on us in the past. Whatever it may be, we look forward to 2020 with really bright eyes, because it's going to be big. And we are so thankful for partners like Harmonic. And I'm thankful for friends and partners like you, Chris. So thank you for joining us today. It's been a lot of fun chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks as always. Again, thank you for your friendship and your partnership. And always good catching up. And can't wait till our next project together.
Happy 2021 to everyone. Until the next one, I'm Luke Miller.